नमस्ते, जय हिंद, वेलकम टू मंथन। और वार्ता के इस एपिसोड में वी हैव इंटरव्यूड डॉक्टर सुपांत भट्टाचार्य। ही इज द विनर ऑफ टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया पोल ऑफ द बेस्ट टीचर ऑफ द सिटी ट्वाइस। सो आप समझ सकते हैं कि ये इंटरव्यू कितना नॉलेजेबल होने वाला है। वी हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट महाभारत, नाट्य शास्त्र, पोएटिक्स ऑफ एरिस्टोटल एंड सो मेनी थिंग्स। सो आप ये वीडियो पूरा देखिए, क्योंकि आप पूरा देखेंगे तभी हम और काम करेंगे। So, thank you. Enjoy the video. Jai Hind.
They give me blank looks. I say, you should be ashamed of yourself. You have inherited such a glorious literary tradition. मराठी का लिटरेचर तो एकदम वर्ल्ड के लीडिंग लिटरेचर्स में है, एंड ये सब ऑथर्स तुमने पढ़े नहीं, ग्रेस नहीं पढ़ा है, ज्ञानेश्वर नहीं पढ़ा है, तो फिर आपने क्या किया है? दैट इवन इफ यू कंबाइन होमर्स इलियड एंड ओडिसी, महाभारत इज स्टिल अ मच ग्रेटर वर्क. And what fascinates about me about Mahabharat is the whole cause and effect relationship. If I'm marooned on a desert island for a year and I'm told that you can take only one book with you, so I would take the Mahabharat. Because in 1 year I won't be able to go through even one adhyay. And there are 18 chapters. Okay, just the Bhagavad Gita part of it, it can engage you for almost an entire lifetime. And there are so many such episodes. It's a mind-blowing work. It's something that I don't think the world has seen the equal of. Right? Yeah. And full of stories, full of wonderful insights.
Namaste, Jai Hind, welcome to Manthan. And today we have with us the most awaited guest, Dr. Supantha Bhattacharya. So first of all, thank you so much for coming to Manthan. We all are very happy that you are here. So how are you?
I'm fine, Ninad, and many thanks to you and your team for having me over here.
It's honest.
Yeah.
It's honest. So I would like to start this podcast with the question that, you have spent 35 years in the academics.
Right.
So many awards. 2 times you have won the poll of the best teacher of the city. So, ये कैसे start हुआ ये journey, and how did you came into literature, and tell us about it.
See, nobody begins his life planning to be an English teacher. Right from my childhood, this idea of being a doctor was drilled into my head.
Okay.
तो तभी तो 2 ही ऑप्शन होते थे, either medicine और engineering. तो right from my childhood I was told कि डॉक्टर बनना है. So I didn't do that well in my higher secondary. Back then there was no NEET or anything. तो your science percentage determined कि क्या career तुम choose करोगे. And I got selected at Sevagram Medical College, but certain circumstances के कारण I couldn't go there. So I decided to switch streams entirely and study arts. So I joined Morris College, Vasantarao Naik Institute of Arts and Social Sciences, to do my BA. And then I did well in my BA, went to the university to do my masters. And one thing led to another. MA के बाद में MPhil किया, and I realized कि teaching is something I could do well in. It could be a pretty lucrative career. So that's how I got into teaching.
Okay. So you have been to teaching for so many years now.
Yes.
Okay.
1991. So.
Almost 35, 30?
Yeah, 33 years. Yeah.
So what do you think? What is your perception of a good teacher? Because we have seen teaching has been evolved. What do you think? Who is a good teacher?
In my book, a good teacher is someone who is able to simplify concepts. A good teacher is someone who is not in love with his own voice or his own erudition, his own vocabulary, but he understands the needs of individual students and teaches to a certain common denominator in a class, and who leaves a student with the feeling after a class कि अरे अब तो ये टॉपिक जो है ये मुझे समझ में आया, and it instills a sense of confidence in the student कि अब मैं इसके ऊपर कुछ भी लिख सकता हूँ. Any teacher who is successfully able to do that is a good teacher in my book.
Okay. So while you were learning, you must have professors, who influenced a lot.
Oh yes.
And you actually reflect that influence in your own teaching. So tell us about that.
The first teacher who has played a very important role in my career is from school, Father Ivan Lobo.
Okay.
And I could sense that whenever he taught, that sense of enjoyment. He's enjoying teaching. तो I could see that कि यार ये तो मतलब हमको जितना मजा नहीं आ रहा है इनको ज्यादा मजा आ रहा है. And he took a lot of effort. वो डैफोडिल्स का फोटो लाके हमको दिखाना नेशनल ज्योग्राफिक मैगजीन में से, हम लोगों से कोई लेसन्स को ड्रामेटाइज करवाना स्टेज पे. ही वुड डू ऑल दैट. सो ही वॉज माई फर्स्ट मेजर इन्फ्लुएंस. Then in Hislop, I studied at Hislop Junior College. I came in contact with Dr. L.C. Coutinho, who again was into theatre, and again that passion for teaching and the instant rapport which he struck with the students. That was again a big, kind of a learning step for me. Then I went to Morris College. Morris College had some fascinating English teachers. Dr. Vasanti Naidu, Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, R.D. Iyer and Sudha Iyer. Then we had Professor Mitra. Okay. And finally I went to the university and I met two people whom I consider my gurus there. Of course, there was the redoubtable Dr. Kanade, Dr. Shahnawaz Buhariwala, who's still teaching in her 70s. And but above all, the two people I consider my gurus so far as academics and teaching is concerned. One is Dr. Jayant Paranjpe. He was the head of the department and an incredible scholar. He was equally fluent in English, Sanskrit and Marathi.
Okay.
And got a DLit then. And then in MPhil, I was taught modern drama by the legend, Professor Mahesh Elkunchwar. And Vada Chirabandi, Party, so many of them, Pratibimb, Harole. And then I worked for my MPhil dissertation. I studied the translations of Professor Elkunchwar's plays and tried to notice the discrepancies, the mismatches. Today I look at that dissertation and I think it's a very juvenile work. But that brought me in close contact with Professor Elkunchwar. So I conducted an interview for my dissertation. And then he said, तुला मराठी छान समजते तर तू रूपांतर का नाही करत माझा नाटकाचा. So I started. And then I translated 5 of his plays. And they have been brought out by Oxford University Press. And that's a relationship we started 30 years ago and has still continued. 1990, I met Sir for the first time. And he considers me a kind of a surrogate son. And I call him Dada now. Okay, so these are 2 of my gurus. And I shall be eternally grateful to them for teaching me the nuances of literature.
Right. Yeah. So, now, of course, you have read so many books. You are a voracious reader. I have seen your library. Thousands of books there. Yeah. So, but, the Gen Z, the concentration span has drastically fallen down.
Yes.
We can't read a 10-page short story nowadays. We will listen it or either we'll watch a Netflix series on that. So, why do you think this has happened, and what do you think as a reader, that what is the future of reading? What is the culture that we are going to pass on to the next generation of reading? And how was reading in your days? How you used to read?
Interesting question. Can't really blame the millennials or the Gen Z, as you call them, because, evolution happens. You can't stop evolution. And in my time, during my growing up years, options क्या थे हमारे पास? Either you read, or you watch drama or films, or listen to the radio. TV भी तो था नहीं. So, reading was an easy and accessible medium of entertainment. So everybody was a reader. Everybody was into reading. Recent studies have revealed that the human brain is changing. अभी जो है वो from the printed word, the brain is now moving away towards the visuals. And therefore, slowly the emphasis on reading printed matter change हो रहा है. Reading still continues. I mean, you yourself are such a good reader. Many of my students read a lot, but now they are more into audiobooks and interactive reading. So yeah, this I think will be the future of reading. Just imagine a book, for instance, 5 or 10 years from now, thanks to artificial intelligence, immersive reading could be a possibility. Suddenly you become a character in a Harry Potter novel. And उसमें वो perspective से you are reading the book. You enter the Hogwarts castle and you are undergoing all those adventures. So that could be the future of reading. But students are still reading. We have a book club in Hislop College, as you are well aware. So many of my literature students are into reading. But one interesting thing I have noticed is, अभी realistic fiction कोई उतना नहीं पढ़ता है.
Right.
Maybe because reality is so oppressive, reality is so daunting, so scary. So abhi most students are reading escape fiction, fantasy fiction, speculative fiction, science fiction. ये सब लोग students ज़्यादा पढ़ रहे हैं because they want to escape reality. So I would suggest कि we can't really do anything about it. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा you encourage people to read. I am a member of 1 or 2 book clubs in Nagpur. In my days, we used to have this wonderful organization called Magras, Majha Grantha Sangraha. So they would have regular meetings at the houses of members, and one person would discuss a book they have read.
Okay, I see.
It could be in English, Hindi, Marathi, whatever. But that continued for years and years. Abhi bhi there are stray book clubs in Nagpur, and the tradition, the culture of reading is still in vogue. But abhi log EPUB padhte hain, e-books
So,
padhte hain.
what do you think? After some years, the print media will completely, I mean,
Not really. The death of the book had been predicted for decades, but the book has still survived, as these book fairs and book exhibitions show. Nagpur में recently National Book Fair हुआ, not very well attended, but Frankfurt Book Fair है, Delhi Book Fair है, यहाँ पे तो millions of people, कोलकाता बोई मेला, एकदम बहुत ही well attended events हैं, तो people are still reading. But I would insist that parents जो हैं, they teach their children to read in their mother tongue. ये बहुत important है. This is many of my Marathi medium students. उनको when I refer to Khanolkar or Pula Deshpande, they give me blank looks. I say you should be ashamed of yourself. You have inherited such a glorious literary tradition. Marathi का literature तो एकदम वर्ल्ड के लीडिंग लिटरेचर्स में है. एंड ये सब ऑथर्स तुमने पढ़े नहीं, ग्रेस नहीं पढ़ा है, ज्ञानेश्वर नहीं पढ़ा है, तो फिर आपने क्या किया है? सो आई वुड इंसिस्ट कि जो पेरेंट्स हैं ज़रूर अपने यू एनकरेज योर चिल्ड्रन टू रीड इंग्लिश एंड अदर लैंग्वेजेस, बट स्टार्ट विद द मदर टंग. जो भी मातृभाषा है, मराठी हो, बंगला हो, गुजराती हो, जो भी हो, इंसिस्ट दैट योर चिल्ड्रन रीड इन देयर मदर टंग. या तो उससे दे डेवलप अ लव फॉर लिटरेचर.
So from mother tongue, I would lead to the next question. So today, there is a trend in the Indian literary circle that we are reclaiming our history and reclaiming our culture. We are breaking away from the colonial shackles, from the colonial literature of the what they produce. We are now reproducing it in our own version. So I mean, authors like Vikram Sampath, many.
Amish hai.
Many.
There's one, Majmudar. He's recently written a book called The Book of Vows, which is the first book of the Mahabharat.
Achha.
He has planned a trilogy on the Mahabharat.
Yes.
Some Ashok Majmudar ya kuch to uska naam first name.
Many. So why do you think this process is important? Because I personally feel that it is important, because
Absolutely.
you have to break away from the colonial past and rewrite your own things. Because
True.
they have written it in their own versions, कुछ मतलब छेड़छाड़ करके कुछ भी. So why do you think? Because you read so much, sir.
Yeah.
And you teach people. So why do you think it is important?
See, history, I don't think can be objective. History or the reading, the interpretation of history can't be objective. And I'm a devout student of critical theory, literary theory. And that has taught me that any event, any reality has multiple perspectives. And any situation, any incident, any text, quote unquote text, can be read from multiple perspectives.
There are
and should be read.
Yes,
And should be read because there is no one authorial perspective. The author is dead, as we all know, Rolaba. Yeah. So it's good that history is being revisited. But my only fear is we shouldn't swing to the other extreme. Right? And I'm very happy that people like Vikram Sampath and other historians, they are rewriting history. But ensure, I would tell all these would-be historians, please ensure that your works are evidence-based. Don't go away from the evidence. Evidence can be again looked at in multiple ways, from multiple points of view. fine. But make sure, that's why I quite like Vikram Sampath. I have read both his volumes of Savarkar.
So he gives many references.
Yeah, Savarkar's history, Savarkar's biography. Excellent work, very good
He
work.
is very critical about it. He is not like a fan of Savarkar.
Not at all. I mean, especially in the second volume, he talks about there being two Savarkars.
Yes.
All right, the pre-Andaman Savarkar and the post-Andaman Savarkar. Absolutely fine. So all these historical figures need to be revisited and kind of reinvestigated. Dr. Ambedkar.
Yes.
All right, I recently read a wonderful biography of Dr. Ambedkar by Ashok Gopal called Apart. All right, again, that's very critical. All right, but you get to learn what a great individual. I was telling my son on my way here that there was this debate between Ambedkar and Gandhi, and back then everybody in the pre-independence era, everybody supported Gandhi's point of view.
Yes.
All right, but if you look at the debate now, you'll realize that Ambedkar was right.
Yes.
All right, we won't go into the details of that. So I'm very happy that our pre-colonial history is being reopened and subject to investigation. Absolutely fine. But let's not make the mistake of
Again, going to the extreme.
going to the other extreme and reading too much into, because even the colonial past is a past.
It's a past.
That is a part of our
We have
history.
to make peace with that.
I have to learn to live with that. And that is something very wonderful about this country of ours. You know, we had this Vedic culture, the Upanishadic culture, then we had the Mughals, all right, then we had the colonialism, this thing. And we have learned to integrate, assimilate all that. So this inclusive culture of India is something that we need to be very proud of, and we need to propagate these values amongst our youngsters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have read so much again. So that ultimately leads to, because I personally know that you are a big fan of Mahabharat. And
Absolutely.
even while teaching English literature, you always keep Mahabharat higher
It's my,
than,
it's
than
the
Homer's,
gold standard.
Yes, higher than Homer.
Yes.
So I mean, please explain to our audience, because Mahabharata and Ramayana is in trend now, and you know it's being reread by millions of students like us.
Ramayana, I think, is a good epic. It's quite well written. But the Mahabharata is something, you'll have to literally stop me to,
So please go on.
yeah.
The mic is all yours.
I have read so many versions of the Mahabharata. And just last week I bought yet another, I told you about this book of vows. Read all these reading. I have read Mahabharata in Bangla. I have read, a shlok by shlok translation of the Mahabharata. I have attended a course, a month-long course from Bhandarkar Research Institute.
Oh, right.
All right. From there, I have attended a course on the Mahabharata. And yet I find that I have hardly scratched the surface of the Mahabharata. It's such an enormous epic. I have read Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, of course, in translation. I don't know Greek, ancient Greek. But I find that even if you combine Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, Mahabharata is still a much greater work. And what fascinates me about Mahabharata is the whole cause and effect relationship. Something that a character does in a particular generation could reverberate and rebound on him many generations later. And there's a sense of interconnectivity in all the characters, all the situations of the Mahabharata, which is unique. I keep telling my students that if I'm marooned on a desert island for a year, and I'm told that you can take only one book with you, so I would take the Mahabharata. Because in 1 year, I won't be able to go through even one adhyay. And there are 18 chapters. Okay, just the Bhagavad Gita part of it, it can engage you for almost an entire lifetime. Right. And there are so many such episodes. It's a mind-blowing work. It's something that I don't think the world has seen the equal of. Right?
True.
Yeah. And full of stories, full of wonderful insights. There is this one book which I taught my BA second year supplementary students called Yugant by Iravati Karve. All right. And that was, a modern psychological interpretation of various characters in the Mahabharata. And that was such a popular text that students from other colleges would come and attend my class. Right, because it was so fascinating. And I would take examples from the original text and read out the shloks. And it was, but unfortunately that text was withdrawn. I think it should be made mandatory reading for students of today. Mahabharata from the modern perspective. What can we learn from the dilemmas and the conflicts of these characters?
So, what is your favorite, episode from the Mahabharata which you feel that it is with you all. It will be with you all your life, no matter what. Because there are so many.
No. That shlok from the Bhagavad Gita, Karmanne Vadhika Raste Ma Phaleshu Kadachanam. I mean, this is like the keystone of my existence. Do your work, karma. Alright, karma karte raho. Don't hanker for the fruit. That's not in your hands. Karmanne Vadhika Raste Ma Phaleshu Kadachanam. फल की लालच मत करो. उससे ज्यादा बड़ा ग्रेट फिलोसफी तो हो नहीं सकता.
Absolutely. So now we move on to the next part of the conversation, which of course is your it's like your life is दो हिस्सों में बढ़ चुका है, literature and theatre. So now we move to the next part, which is theatre. So tell us about ये theatre कैसे चालू हुआ, because it's such a fascinating art. I mean, we all are fan of theatres. We all are theatre people. So how did it started from you, Bengali theatre, then Marathi, then English?
It started in school, SFS school where I studied. And what the teachers there would do, especially Father Ivan, एक कोई lesson उन्होंने पढ़ाया, he would ask the students to dramatize it. Class में आके उसको perform करो, enact करो.
That's how it started, na?
That's how it started. Yeah. And eventually, the task of directing those school plays, it fell on me.
Okay.
And even during the annual concert, we would have plays, Hindi play. Sir Taide करके एक जन थे, वो हिंदी plays कराते थे. छत्ता चोर, नेफा की एक शाम, ये सब plays उन्होंने कराया था. And English में दो चीज होता था. एक tableau होता था. Tableau, I don't know if you have seen this. It's like a play, but with a voiceover. उसमें characters don't speak. तो mostly biblical जो episodes होते थे, उसके ऊपर tableau होता था. And English एक play होता था. तो I was very enthusiastic. मुझे लगा कि I can perform well. तो मैं ये सब छोटे छोटे रोल में, कभी सर्वेंट का रोल, कभी इसमें घुस जाता था. So it started from school. Then after I finished my 10th, my SSC, I came in contact with one person who has played the most significant role in my theatrical development, Mr. Vikash Khurana. So 1982 में Vikash Khurana conducted a theatre workshop. SFS school just study hall होता था with about 10 or 15 participants. And there he taught us the basics of theatre, voice projection, stage movement, and how to analyze a scene. तो ये सब उन्होंने सिखाया था. So that got me hooked onto theatre. फिर what happened is, हम तब railway colony, my father was in the railways, railway colony में रहते थे, and वो लोग they would stage a lot of plays. Plays एक वो folk form होता है जात्रा, तो they would do jatras and all. In fact, वो जात्रा के reference में there is a very interesting anecdote. There are, I'm sure you know her, Sohini Luha. वो she is in BA final year now. So I have acted with 3 generations of actresses. I have acted with Sohini. I have acted with Sohini's mother. I have acted with Sohini's grandmother. And Sohini's grandmother, I was playing this black indigo plantation owner. And I'm supposed to kidnap Sohini's grandmother. She was the heroine of that play. And rehearsals mein, she wouldn't allow me to pick her up. She faints and I pick her up and I exit. So she wouldn't allow me to pick her up. Final day of the show. She faints on stage and I enter, playing this very evil British villain, Lawrence Foster, naam mujhe aaj bhi yaad hai. And with a very evil laugh, ha 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 ha, I pick her up. And then she panics. And she loudly, Supantha, gira mat dena mujhe. So, the audience is supposed to be a very tense scene. And the audience is rolling in its seats. And I said, नहीं गिराऊंगा, कोई problem नहीं, मैं गिर जाऊंगी. She's supposed to be unconscious.
Right.
And then I exit, but that scene was completely ruined. तो ये सब हो गया. Then I got busy with my studies. तो college में इतना कुछ I couldn't participate. I kept watching a number of plays, Elkunchwar sir's plays, and Nagpur में तो तभी 90s में theatre scene was very vibrant. Yeah. मोर भवन, फिर वो धनवटे रंग मंदिर, ये सब जगह पे बहुत नाटक होते थे. So my father and I would go and watch these plays. And then I joined this organization called Bengali Association. And Bengali Association में there were 2 absolutely iconic directors, Mr. Debashish Roy and Mr. Shishir Mukherjee. तो ये लोग एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज करते थे, मराठी प्लेस को बंगाली में ट्रांसलेट करना, फिर बंगाली में करना, बंगाली प्लेस को मराठी में ट्रांसलेट करना, राज्य नाट्य स्पर्धा में उसको करना, दोनों में से हिंदी में करना, फिर उसको राज्य नाट्य स्पर्धा में. तो ऐसे हम लोगों ने बहुत से नाटक किए तेंदुलकर के नाटक, खानोलकर के नाटक, एलकुंचवार सर का प्रतिबिंब हम लोगों ने किया, तेंदुलकर का अशी पाखरू ये थे, ये किया. तो वहाँ बंगाली एसोसिएशन में अंडर द डायरेक्शन ऑफ दीज टू आई लर्नड अ लॉट. एंड देयर वाज दिस वंडरफुल एक्टर, आई डोंट नो इफ यू हैव सीन हिम ऑन स्टेज, वो आजकल एक्टिंग नहीं करते हैं, चंचल रॉय चौधरी. ये सब रिजर्व बैंक के लोग थे. तो चंचल रॉय चौधरी हिमसेल्फ वाज अ वेरी गुड एक्टर, एंड ही वुड टीच यू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स अबाउट हाउ टू इमोट. अगर गुस्सा करना है तो तुम्हारे चेहरे पे क्या बोलते थे, मिरर के सामने खड़े हो जाओ एंड देखो अपना एक्सप्रेशन, डायलॉग बोल के ऐसा प्रैक्टिस करो. तो आई लर्न अ लॉट ऑफ थिएटर टेक्निक फ्रॉम हिम. डॉक्टर देबाशीष नाहा हुज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फिगर ऑन द स्मॉल स्क्रीन दीज डेज. तो इन लोगों से मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा. देन आई गॉट मैरिड एंड वो रोज रात को वो रिहर्सल्स होते थे अराउंड 12:30, 1, 2 इतने बजे तक. एंड मेरा मॉर्निंग क्लास रहता था कॉलेज में. आई हैड जॉइंड हिस्लप, तो आई कुडंट मैनेज बोथ, सो आई स्टॉप्ड. So then, after 2 or 3 years, I think in the year 2001, I once again met Mr. Vikash Khurana. Okay. And he was thinking of starting a new theatre group then. So he launched Stagecraft Theatre. और हमारा first production था My Fair Lady, an adaptation of Bernard Shaw's, आजकल नाम भूल जाता हूँ, which play was Pygmalion. Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion.
Thieful-Rani Marathi.
Thieful-Rani, yeah. एंड तो उसमें मैंने वो डूलिटल का जो फादर है, एलाइजा डूलिटल का फादर, उसका रोल किया था. एंड देन अगेन इट वाज अ वंडरफुल 12-year एसोसिएशन. आई एम वेरी ग्रेटफुल टू मिस्टर खुराना बिकॉज ही टॉट मी अ लॉट अबाउट स्टेज क्राफ्ट, और स्टेज में कैसे खड़े रहना कैसे. एंड उसी दौरान आई केम इन कॉन्टैक्ट विद अनदर वेरी गुड फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन, मिस्टर रमेश लखमापुरे. रमेश लखमापुरे मुझे ये सिखाया कि लाइट कैसे लेना चाहिए, डायलॉग बोलते वक्त कैसे जेस्चर्स कैसे होने. ही हिमसेल्फ इज अ वेरी गुड एक्टर एंड अ थिएटर डायरेक्टर. तो उन्होंने मुझे बहुत कुछ टिप्स दिए स्टेज पे कैसे एक्टिंग करना चाहिए. तो मिस्टर खुराना, मिस्टर लखमापुरी, इनके कारण आई लर्न अ लॉट अबाउट द क्राफ्ट ऑफ एक्टिंग एंड बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे रोल दिए मुझे. हैमलेट में क्लॉडियस का रोल, मर्चेंट ऑफ वेनिस में शाइलॉक, देन शर्लक होम्स में मोरियार्टी, पीटर पैन में कैप्टन होक. ऐसे एक से एक रोल्स. एंड वन थिंग अबाउट मिस्टर खुराना इज ही हिमसेल्फ इज एन एक्सेप्शनल एक्टर. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे प्लेज में वो रहते थे मेरे साथ में. एंड यू नो व्हेन टू गुड एक्टर्स आर टुगेदर, वो जो केमिस्ट्री है, वो जो फीडबैक एक दूसरे से मिलता है, तो दैट वाज वंडरफुल. सो 2013 आई लेफ्ट स्टेजक्राफ्ट फॉर सम डिफरेंसेस, एंड देन आई हैव बीन अ फ्रीलांसर. मिस्टर राजा मुखर्जी, उनके ग्रुप में मैंने काम किया. अभी मेरा खुद का भांजा जो है राहुल देव मुखर्जी, यू हैव डन प्लेस विथ हिम, इंसिग्निया प्रोडक्शंस, उनके साथ में किया. एंड दैट्स हाउ इट काइंड ऑफ कंटिन्यूज.
How theatre has shaped your personality? You know that, I mean, like, my personal opinion is when you do theatre, you become a different person altogether.
True.
So I mean, how it has been for you personally?
See, another motto of mine is all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Yeah. I also believe that teaching is also 90% performance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm so bad at online teaching. My live classes, my in-person classes, physical classes, there I tend to move about a lot and modulate my voice.
It's a trait.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
Right. And online teaching is not really my cup of tea. And whenever I'm in a production, I somehow live in kind of two realities. Ek, my everyday life, I'm reading, I'm teaching, I'm interacting with others. That seems like a make-believe to me. As if that's a fake, a false world. And I'm really living in that, the character which I'm inhabiting. And my wife kept complaining when I played these characters that when I was playing Shylock, I had become very cranky, very irritable. And she says, you're impossible to live with. तुम कोई बदल जाते हो जब तुम ऐसे बड़े मेजर रोल्स करते हो. I suppose, you are kind of carrying that character within you. And that is bound to affect your everyday persona. That kept happening to me. So, given a choice, I would much rather, live in my theatrical world, in my, make-believe world than the real world.
So, I also believe in theatre, the biggest point is that you get to be the person which you can't be in your real life.
Yes.
That's a big plus point.
I personally believe that I have a very mediocre, boring personality in real life. And in theater, you can be whatever you want. You can, all the impulses, all the desires which you haven't been able to gain access to or, express in your real life. You can do it via your characters. So that is why this has always fascinated me.
So theater, theater and Shakespeare should go hand in hand. So we all know that your love for Shakespeare
Oh,
is,
yeah, he's my god.
is your god.
Yeah.
So tell us about it. And the question I have is, why do you think Shakespeare? Because there have been many writers, many good dramatists, but when we think of theater, we think of Shakespeare. So why is this thinking been with us, and why do you think that Shakespeare is the immortal dramatist?
I first, encountered Shakespeare when I was a child of 5. My father gave me 2 books to Shakespeare read comedy, Shakespeare read tragedy. These were Bengali, summaries of Shakespeare's plays. One volume dealt with his comedies, one volume dealt with... So wonderful stories. But then when I started reading Shakespeare in the original, we had a few excerpts from some Shakespearean scenes in school. Then in my BA literature, we studied As You Like It and Macbeth. In MA, of course, we had a whole paper on Shakespeare taught by the inimitable Dr. Sharnawaz Buhariwala, where we studied about 7 or 8 plays. And then I got very interested in Shakespeare. And after my MA, I told my supervisor, my guru, Dr. Jayant Paranjpe, that I'd like to do my PhD on Shakespeare. So he said, go ahead, do you have a topic in mind? So I said, the gruesome, the macabre, and the grotesque in Shakespeare. So I had this hypothesis in mind that these elements, the negative elements, the gruesome, terrifying, very repulsive elements, initially Shakespeare used them to lure his audience, to attract his audience. But in his mature phase, in his later phase, they became an integral part. He used them to explore the dark side of humanity. Yeah. But that thesis never happened because Dr. Paranjpe passed away. I wrote about 3 chapters which were okayed by him. So those chapters are still lying in a trunk somewhere. Maybe someday I'll write a book about it. But that taught me, the first task which Dr. Paranjpe gave me is read all the plays of Shakespeare. So I read all 37 plays. And then he said, finish? I said, yeah, it took me 6 months. I said, sir, finish reading them all. He said, reread them. So at least I'm familiar with all the plays, everything that Shakespeare ever wrote. I find that he is one writer who has the greatest insights into human nature. Nobody understood human character, human nature like Shakespeare did. And he was a very forgiving individual. Shakespeare never saw a man in terms of black or white. For him, everybody is a shade of grey. So there is no complete villain in Shakespeare, which I have repeatedly told you. In Shakespeare, even the villain has some redeeming features. He is what he is because of something. So that's one wonderful quality. I mean, there's no humanist like Shakespeare. There's no feminist like Shakespeare.
I would like to add to this point, in his age, no one understood the human mind as well as
it. And look at the way he portrayed the downtrodden, the underprivileged. Shylock, all right, he's a merchant of Venice. Then Othello, all right, is a black man. Shylock is also a Jew. And the marginalized, the underprivileged, right? He understood their mindset, he understood their emotions, their drives, their impulses like nobody before or after. So, which is why he remains up. And the language. Shakespeare, almost 75% of the English that we speak today is created by Shakespeare. Yeah. So for all these reasons, and they work very well on stage. Shakespeare, because he himself was an actor, he understood what works on stage and what doesn't. They're still very gripping, very relevant today. I'm very fortunate that I have acted in 6 Shakespeare plays, mostly tragedies, Macbeth, Hamlet, Twelfth Night, Romeo and Juliet, I played Mercutio there, then Merchant of Venice, where I was Shylock. Okay, and performing Shakespeare gives you a whole new understanding, gives you a very comprehensive view about how that man understood the technicalities of theatre. So, this and for various other reasons, I am still a lifelong admirer of Shakespeare. and I keep reading every new book that comes out on him. I have a huge collection of Shakespeare books, an entire cupboard full of Shakespeare works by Shakespeare and on Shakespeare. And
so it's very interesting that Shakespeare never made an effort to collect his own plays.
Yeah.
He just wrote and kept it. So you have acted in Marathi, Bengali, and English, of course.
Hindi.
Yeah. But so now the scene is that only Marathi theatre and Bengali theatre in my opinion, are the only two surviving theatres in whole India, in the mainstream.
No, not really. Even Hindi theatre is quite active. But in North India.
Yeah, North India. So I would like you to, make us a comparison of, how Marathi theatre is different from Bengali, because these two are the major theatres in India. Because you have played in both. So
rather than talk about the difference, I talk about the similarities.
Okay.
Both Marathi and Bangla theatre, they have centuries old traditions. And especially this Marathi tradition of Sangeet Natak, that is very unique. It's very like opera we have in the West. And both the tradition, just like Marathi theatre is mostly Pune and Mumbai based. In Bengal, the problem is there are lots of good groups working out of these small towns and smaller cities. But theatre, as we understand it, is mostly Calcutta based.
Okay.
So one good thing that the West Bengal government has done over the last few governments, started with the communist government, they give subsidies to theatre groups. And so theatre groups don't have to worry about their bread and butter. So many of them can survive on the government handouts, the government doles. And brilliant playwrights have emerged from these two states, Maharashtra and Bengal. And unfortunately, Professor Elkunchwar, I was having a discussion with him the other day. Professor Elkunchwar said that the present generation, with the exception of a few like Mohit Takalkar and one or two others, don't seem to be so interested in theatre as in the electronic media,
because
films.
theatre is time consuming.
Time consuming, there's no payoff. The financial aspect of it is very daunting, and so many other reasons. OTT and films now rule the roost, and so everywhere. Earlier there would be these drama competitions, well attended. I have been to these Rajya Natya Spardhas where the entire auditorium would be packed. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and people would be there. Now you go and you'll see hardly a handful of people there.
So I personally believe that theatre is not a dying art, because even today if you go to Deshpande Hall for a play, it's houseful. So what do you think, that is theatre dying art, because you have done so much of theatre?
I'd like to differ with you there. Let your theatre group go and perform at Deshpande Hall and you see how packed this is. Nagpurians, I believe, go and watch a play only if it has big star names.
Only commercial plays.
All right, maybe a TV artist or a film artist, or then they'll go and make it a hit. But local talent is not encouraged as much as it ought to be. And this is the reason why I ought to take this opportunity and thank organizations like Chitnavi Center.
Right.
They have really helped amateur theatre groups to explore and to present their talents. And it's not a dying art. They have been hammering nails into the coffin of theatre for many years, right since cinema came around in the 20th century. But theatre has survived. And I believe theatre will survive for the simple reason that theatre has that one quality which none of the other mediums have, and that is its liveness. It's all live. If you watch 2 successive shows, they'll all be completely different. Yeah, so as long as we have that, theatre will survive. But I think that theatre now should concentrate mostly on the performance, because we go to see a theatre not because of the razzmatazz, the technical effects. No, cinema can do it better any day. We go and watch a play mostly for the performance, for the acting part of it and the liveness of it. So as long as directors are able to capitalize on these 2 factors, I think theatre will survive. I'm very optimistic, yeah.
So, but what do you think, cinema is the most superior art or theatre is the most superior art?
I'm biased. I'm a theatre. I've acted in a lot of short films. I've done one film, a feature film, Mike, directed by Piyush Pandey. and did not really enjoy the experience. From an actor's perspective, I think theatre is more satisfying, more fulfilling, because there's a sense of continuity there. Cinema, what happens is, there are all these shots. They're taking a close-up, so no matter what you do with the rest of your body doesn't matter. Alright, only the emoting that you do through your face, that becomes relevant. But in theatre, it's never that. Theatre is, nobody ever closes up on your face or on your hands. Anything. So you are acting with your entire body. And that dubbing part is another absolutely big bore. Alright, and I tend to lose a lot of my spontaneity in cinema. So give me theatre any day. Theatre
also
is...
the major thing is that theatre is live. And
theatre is live. That's the most important thing, yeah. And there's that element of uncertainty. Will that character forget his line? Will he miss so that there's a sense of danger, there's a sense of unpredictability.
वो अलग मजा है.
वो अलग मजा है. वो तो बिल्कुल for the actors as well as for the... And I tell you, वो जो live audience के साथ acting करते वक्त जब वो feedback मिलता है, when they are laughing at your jokes, when a line is making them weep, you know, you have this feeling of omnipotence. Yeah, I'm in control. मैं इन लोगों को ऐसा ये कर रहा हूँ. I don't think cinema can give that. Of course, mind you, there are actors who are good in both the mediums. Dr. Lagu, right? Nasiruddin Shah, Om Puri, very good in both the mediums. In theatre, we had Soumitra Chatterjee. Bengali theatre, we had Soumitra Chatterjee. He was equally good on stage and on screen. But I'm not one of them. I don't think the screen is my medium.
So on stage, like for the Western world, they have Aristotle's Poetics. And
Yes.
for the Indian world, we have Natya Shastra.
Oh, yes.
And make us the difference between two and which is better. Of
Better
course,
nahi.
Natya Shastra is dates way back to poetry.
Yeah. I personally feel that Aristotle may have somehow been inspired by some concepts from the Natya Shastra. Natya Shastra is it's like an ocean. And Aristotle is more like an artificial lake in comparison. I feel that the Natya Shastra hasn't been properly translated. It needs to be translated for the modern generation. Then they can see what a comprehensive work it is. It's one of my post-retirement dreams that I'll translate it. I'll translate the Natya Shastra into contemporary English. And let's see. It's something I'd love to do. But that's an amazing work. Just not from the acting perspective. Everything about theatre is there. And much superior to any other
superior. But of course, it's superior. But in poetics, I found the concept of catharsis and hamasha very interesting.
Yeah.
And आपसे बेहतर वो कौन बता सकता है? So please, because I really feel that the audience should know what is catharsis, because the layman only goes to theatre and watches a play, but he doesn't know what it is doing to him.
See, in comedy, there's a lot of laughter, and that helps us to kind of escape our everyday reality. But in the Poetics, Aristotle says that tragedy is a superior form of entertainment. For the simple reason that after watching a successful tragedy, you don't come out of it feeling despondent, feeling very gloomy, feeling oppressed. No. There's a sense of emotional enhancement. There's a sense of upliftment. And that happens because of catharsis.
Okay.
Aristotle says that the negative emotions, the pent-up feelings of pity and terror in particular, alright, those are purged out of our system while we are watching a tragic performance. So he says it's a more refined form of entertainment. Tragedy is the most superior form of entertainment according to... So that in brief is what catharsis is.
And so hamasha?
Hamartia is he doesn't define it in the Poetics, He says it could be a human error as well as a kind of a fatal flaw, a frailty, And as we know, all Shakespeare's tragic heroes, they have had a fatal flaw. King Lear, it was his ego, his royal ego, which made him, ask his daughters to proclaim their love for him. Macbeth had his ambition, which made him kill his father figure, Duncan. Othello, insecurity or suspicion, which made him take his wife's life. And Hamlet, his indecision. Laurence Olivier's adaptation says Hamlet is the tragedy of a man who could not make up his mind. And so the Elizabethans, The Renaissance thinkers, they interpreted hamartia as a kind of a fatal flaw in your character. But Aristotle makes it very clear that it would also be an error in judgment. All of us, we are the tragic heroes of our own tragic lives. So all of us make wrong choices. So even those wrong choices, they are also hamartia. Yeah.
So I believe that art or like theatre and dancing, they are a way to escape. And I generally ask this question to every guest because it's a very important topic nowadays. The Gen Zs is a very fragile generation. Problems of mental health, anxiety, depression are very common these days. I mean, you have lived so much of life. Of course, आपके life में भी कुछ ऐसे stages तो of course आए होंगे.
Yes.
Please guide us, like how to get over it and how can we get into some kind of passion, to escape that.
Right.
Because I think in the older days, जितने भी लोगों से मैंने बात की है, they always say that हमारे ज़माने ये सब टर्म को पता ही नहीं था ये क्या है. But today, like I do believe that because mental health what it is, people are getting more into depression. जब पता नहीं था लोगों को तब
Exactly.
उनको पता नहीं था ये क्या है.
The known devil and the unknown devil.
So tell us about that.
See, I'm very hopeful. I see youngsters like you, Rahul, and others who have understood the joys of theatre, understood the joys of performance, and you are channelizing your energies through your passion. So this is what I tell my younger friends, that see, life is tough and it's getting tougher by the day, right? And now there is so much information at your fingertips about, as you said, mental health and mental illness. But therefore, don't let anything, it's not so easy. I mean, it's easier said than done. But don't let the obstacles, what shall I say, the setbacks of life drag you into the pits of depression. Find some passion, find some hobby. You have found theatre. Rahul has found theatre. Some others are into music, into dancing. Art is now used as therapy in many cultures, many countries. So art is one way of cathesizing. The stress that builds up, the negativity, the toxicity that builds up in your psyche. Art can provide an outlet for that, right? So all that pent up frustration, pent up anger, rage, all these things, they can be channelized by art. So this is what I tell my BA students. I start with them. I said, all of you are so talented. Why not use your art to express your anger, whatever negative emotions you have? So don't let depression, don't let mental issues lead you into a state where you are forced to self-harm, to harm yourself, right? Bring it out through your art, write about it, write plays about it, perform plays about it, sing about it, paint about it, right? And now there are so many opportunities. In our time, we didn't have all these options. But now, thanks to the internet, there are online courses. You can express yourself, make a video of yourself, put it up on YouTube. What's stopping you? Right? So use all these technologies in a very positive way. And it's the only lifetime we have. Life is beautiful still. Let's try to use art to make the world a better place for yourself as well as for others.
True. So now we are leading to the last question of the conversation, and I really wanted to ask this question. You have seen so much of life now. In personal lives and in your academic field in theatre, it's been such a long time. How do you look back? How do you look back to your whole life, and what do you see ahead of you? What's your future? And if you were told to analyze your past, how has life been to you? What would you give an answer to that?
I wanted to desperately join the National School of Drama. I wanted to be a full-time theatre artist. The silver screen had no fascination for me. I wanted to be a full-time theatre actor. But then I realized that theatre doesn't really pay. You can't earn your daily dal roti from theatre. Right? So that is one regret probably I shall ever have. That what if I had kind of not listened to my parents, not listened to others, and quit everything and gone to Delhi and tried for National School of Drama? Would my life have been any different? And life ahead, See, now I'm 56. I'm retiring in 4 more years. After which I'll take up theatre full time. Alright, I have all the time in the world. I have received some offers to continue as a teacher, administrator for various programs at my college and other colleges. But I've said no. I've had enough of teaching now. 4 years later, I'll devote myself completely to theatre and maybe, conduct theatre workshops for free, of course. All right, conduct theatre workshops, and I already do conduct workshops for a couple of colleges. But then I'll take it up full time. And what else? I'll start freelancing a little more. I'll start acting in real earnest. And I'm sure I'm going to enjoy my post-retirement life to the hilt.
So we wish you all the best for that. And how was your experience at Manthan today?
Wonderful. I mean, Ninad, you are like a son to me. And it didn't feel like an interview.
Yes,
it just felt as if we are having a kind of an adda. We are having a chat, it's a chat between two friends. So I quite like the setup of Manthan here. I admire what you are doing. This is the future. All these macro things have failed us. Now these micro efforts, like Manthan and various other small efforts. Now this is what's going to sustain the next generation. So do not think of changing the world. Change yourself, change the reality around you in minor, small ways like this. It was a wonderful experience, and I quite enjoyed the first episode. Looking forward to Mr. Nanoti's interview.
Thank you,
and the other interviews in future. Congratulations to the entire team. I can see the hard work that has gone into the setup, and all the best to Manthan.
Thank you,
and I'm sure of this, you'll soon become a name to reckon with at the national level, if not the international.
So you are such a personality that one podcast is not enough for you. And I think in future we can do many podcasts on topic based, like
Absolutely.
Mahabharat.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We are very grateful to you. So this was Dr. Supantha Bhattacharya on Manthan. We hope you like the video. Do watch this video and पूरा video देखिए, वो बहुत important है. And do like, share and subscribe and do support us. Until next time, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.